Welcome, anyone. Is there anyone here? We're doing it. Let's go. You've suggested some pages from The Lord of the Rings, and I will read from all those pages. I've got a whole system here, you know, and we'll do readings from all of the pages that you've suggested. Hang on. Let me just get my page system. Let me just get my page system in order. There's a whole production behind this live. Got myself a light, a little fire going in the back of my garage. I'm good. Hello, Jacob. How are you? Suggest a page. Okay. Welcome to this live directly from my garage. I don't know why I'm in my garage today, but last time I was in my garage because my kids and the mother of my children, who's my wife, but she's not my wife, was at home. But now they're not at home, but I'm still in my garage, so I don't know why, but I like it. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. I don't know how to check if anything goes wrong or anything, but I just hope everything goes great. So, did it stop? Did it stop? No, did not stop. Okay, I think we're good. I should have like a monitor or something to check. Just a bit of lag, but all is good. Thank you for saying that. Wouldn't want it to get too glitchy. That's not fun. This is, by the way, going on both YouTube TikTok and Instagram. So if it drops off somewhere, go to one of the other ones. We've got 20 suggested pages to read from, and I'll read from them all, and then after you can suggest pages. Now I might have taken a bit of water over my head, as we say in Norway, but 20 pages will be read from, and you've all suggested it through my amazing suggest a page web page. So I think we'll just get into it, you know, because we can't be here all night, but we'll probably be like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, something like that. And we'll be reading random passages from The Lord of the Rings with voices and acting and all, and you suggested the pages and I will read from them. I'm sorry if I look down all the time, it's because my face is there and I like looking on my face. Okay. This is the first time I'm streaming to every platform. Now I can't hear. That's better. Good. It seems like Instagram is having a bit of an issue. Maybe I'll just do that on my phone. I don't know. Okay. Reading The Lord of the Rings. I can't pay attention to all these chats. This was a huge mistake. Anyway, okay. The first page that was suggested by my father, because he's a nice man who suggests his pages on my webpage. Hi, hello everyone. Nice to see you here. The first page is page 201. I hope it's not the start of something or a blank page. Okay, it's good. 201. A Flight to the Ford chapter. It's broad daylight with a bright sun, and yet you come back trying to scare me with a tale of live trolls waiting for us in this glade. In any case, you might have noticed that one of them has an old bird's nest behind his ear. That would be a most unusual ornament for a live troll. They all laughed. Frodo felt his spirits reviving. The reminder of Bilbo's first successful adventure was heartening. The sun, too, was warm and comforting, and the mist before his eyes seemed to be lifting a little. They rested for some time in the glade and took their midday meal right under the shadow of the Troll's large legs. "Won't somebody give us a bit of a song while the sun is high?" said Merry when they had finished. "We haven't had a song or a tale for days." "Not since Weathertop," said Frodo. The others looked at him. "Don't worry about me," he added. "I feel much better, but I don't think I could sing. Perhaps Sam could dig something out of his memory." "Come on, Sam," said Merry. "There's more stored in your head than you let on about." "I don't know about that," said Sam, "but how would this suit? I ain't what I call a proper poetry, if you understand me. Just a bit of nonsense, but these old images here brought it to my mind." Standing up, with his hands behind his back, as if he was at school, he began to sing to an old tune. Troll sat alone on his seat of stone, and munched and mumbled a bare old bone. For many a year he had gnawed it near, for meat was hard to come by. Done by, gum by. In a cave in the hills he dwelt alone, and meat was hard to come by. Up came Tom with his big boots on. Said he to Troll, "Pray, what is yon? For it looks like the shine o' mine Uncle Tim, as he should be a-lying in a graveyard. Graveyard, paveyard. This merry a year has Tim been gone, and I thought he were lying in graveyard." Starting with the song, that was not quite what I expected, but okay, bear with me. We did 201. Let's go for 97. Advik. Hello, good morning, fellowships. I don't know what to call you. I'll call you, this is, by the way, the Random Page Club. That's what this is. That's what it is here in my garage. Welcome to everyone. We're reading random passages from the Lord of the Rings with voices and acting and all. I just sang a song and I'm not quite happy with how that turned out, but that's how it goes. Page 97 is the next one, suggested by Advik Shukla. He suggested, or her, suggested last time as well. And I love seeing the same names again and again, commenting on my videos and liking, and I appreciate that very much. So, page 97. The ferryboat moved slowly across the water. The Buckland shore drew nearer. Sam was the only member of the party who had not been over the river before. He had a strange feeling as the slow, gurgling stream slipped by. His old life lay behind in the mists. Dark adventure lay in front. He scratched his head, and for a moment had a passing wish that Mr. Frodo could have gone on living quietly at Bag End. The four hobbits stepped off the ferry. Merry was tying it up, and Pippin was already leading the pony up the path, when Sam, who had been looking back as if to take farewell of the Shire, said in a hoarse whisper, "Look back, Mr. Frodo. Do you see anything?" On the far stage, under the distant lamps, they could just make out a figure. It looked like a dark black bundle left behind, but as they looked it seemed to move and sway this way and that, as if searching the ground. It then crawled or went crouching back into the gloom beyond the lamps. "What in the Shire is that?" exclaimed Merry. "Something that is following us," said Frodo. "But don't ask any more now. Let's get away at once." They hurried up the path to the top of the bank, but when they looked back the far shore was shrouded in mist, and nothing could be seen. "Thank goodness you don't keep any boats on the west bank," said Frodo. "Can horses cross the river?" "They can go 20 miles north to Brandywine Bridge, or they might swim," answered Merry. "Though I never heard of any horse swimming in the Brandywine. But what have horses got to do with it?" "I'll tell you later. Let's get indoors and then we can talk." "All right. You and Pippin know your way, so I'll just ride on and tell Fatty Bolger that you're coming. We'll see about supper and things." "We had our supper earlier with Farmer Maggot," said Frodo, "but we could do with another." Second supper. So what I'm doing is reading longer passages from the Lord of the Rings, with voices and acting and all that, longer than I do in my normal reels. So thank you very much for being here. That was page 97. I just have to log in to see my suggested pages. I'm sorry if this is boring you, but you might swipe away. Swipe away with me, honey. Putting in my password to something. Don't look. Here we go. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so patient. Mark as read. So, welcome to the Random Page Club, where I read random passages from the Lord of the Rings, like the nerd I am, here in my garage. Next page is page 975. 975, that's way away at the end. If you want to comment a page in the chat, you can. Comment a page number between 21 and 1008. 975. Okay. It's the start of the Scouring of the Shire, the chapter left out of the films. Like so many other things. Let me just see who's talking. That's... okay. They hammered on the outer gate and called, but there was at first no answer, and then to their surprise someone blew a horn, and the lights in the windows went out. A voice shouted in the dark. "Who's that? Be off! You can't come in! Can't you read the notice? No admittance between sundown and sunrise." "Of course we can't read the notice in the dark," Sam shouted back. "And if hobbits of the Shire are to be kept out in the wet on a night like this, I'll tear down your notice when I find it." At that, a window slammed, and a crowd of hobbits with lanterns poured out of the house on the left. They opened the further gate, and some came over the bridge. When they saw the travellers, they seemed frightened. "Come along," said Merry, recognizing one of the hobbits. "If you don't know me, Hob Hayward, you ought to. I am Merry Brandybuck, and I should like to know what all of this is about, and what a Bucklander like you is doing here. You used to be on the Haygate." "Bless me, it's Master Merry, to be sure, and all dressed up for fighting," said old Hob. "Why, they say you was dead, lost in the old forest by all accounts. I'm pleased to see you alive after all." "Then stop gaping at me through the bars and open the gate," said Merry. "I'm sorry, Master Merry, but we have orders." "Whose orders?" "The chief's up at Bag End." "Chief? Chief? Do you mean Mr. Lotho?" said Frodo. "I suppose so, Mr. Baggins, but we have to just say, the chief nowadays." "Do you indeed?" said Frodo. "Well, I am glad he has dropped the Baggins at any rate, but it is evidently high time that the family dealt with him and put him in his place." I mean, the Scouring of the Shire, they really man up the travellers, the hobbits. They get to save their towns and land. Whoops. Here we go. Nice to see you all here. I am doing random passages from the Lord of the Rings. If in case there was anyone new, I can't pay attention to all these chats. This was a bad idea, having 3 social media things going at once, but that's what we're doing. Trying new things. Okay. The next page is page 319. Look at this. I just want to show you my awesome system. See here? Pages read, pages not read. Vibe coded it. 319 coming up. The Bridge of Khazad-dûm chapter. Oh. Who's speaking here? Okay. It's Gandalf.
As I stood there, I could hear orc voices on the other side. At any moment, I thought they would burst it open. I could not hear what was said. They seemed to be talking in their own hideous language. All I caught was "Grash," that is, fire. Then something came into the chamber. I felt it through the door, and the orcs themselves were afraid and fell silent. It laid hold on the iron ring, and then it perceived me and my spell. What it was, I cannot guess, but I have never felt such a challenge. The counterspell was terrible. It nearly broke me. For an instant, the door left my control and began to open. I had to speak a word of command. That proved too great a strain. The door burst in pieces. Something dark as a cloud was blocking out all the light inside, and I was thrown backwards down the stairs. All the wall gave way, and the roof of the chamber as well, I think. I am afraid Balin is buried deep, and maybe something else is buried there too. I cannot say. But at least the passage behind us was completely blocked. I have never felt so spent, but it is passing. And now what about you, Frodo? There was not time to say so, but I have never been more delighted in my life than when you spoke. I feared that it was a brave but dead hobbit that Aragorn was carrying.
What about me? Said Frodo. I am alive and whole, I think. I am bruised and in pain, but it is not too bad. Well, said Aragorn, I can only say that hobbits are made of a stuff so tough that I have never met the like of it. Had I known, I would have spoken softer in the inn at Bree. That spear thrust would have skewered a wild boar. Well, it did not skewer me, I am glad to say, said Frodo, though I feel as if I had been caught between a hammer and an anvil. He said no more. He found breathing painful.
You take after Bilbo, said Gandalf. There is more about you than meets the eye, as I said of him long ago.
Frodo wondered if the remark meant more than it said. That was page 319. Thank you for listening to my rendition of this this stuff. I appreciate you all being here, and I'm having a good time. I am really having a good time. So we've got 16 more pages to read from the pre-suggested list, and you can suggest after that. Next time I think I'll do 10 suggested pre-suggestings, because, you know, maybe you'll have more fun suggesting pages in the chat. But next page. Or if you have any questions, we can all do some questions, you know. I appreciate you all sharing this live and enjoying it. I am most enjoying it. Next page, page 888. Triple eights. Oh, it's a song. I just have to check who's singing. This is the Tower of Cirith Ungol chapter. I guess this is, who's this? Must be Sam. Sam, probably. It's probably Sam. Probably Sam. And then suddenly new strength rose in him, and his voice rang out, while words of his own came unbidden to fit the simple tune. In western lands beneath the sun, the flowers may rise in spring, the trees may bud, the waters run, the merry finches sing. Or there may be 'tis cloudless night, and swaying beeches bare, and elven stars as jewels white amid their branching hair. Though here at journey's end I lie, in darkness buried deep, beyond all towers strong and high, beyond all mountains steep. Above all shadows rides the sun, and stars forever dwell. I will not say the day is done, nor bid the stars farewell. Beyond all towers strong and high, he began again,
and then he stopped short. He thought that he had heard a faint voice answering him, but now he could hear nothing. Yes, he could hear something, but not a voice. Footsteps were approaching. Now a door was being opened quietly in the passage above. The hinges creaked. Sam crouched down, listening. The door closed with a dull thud, and then a snarling orc voice rang out. "Oh, law! You up there, you dunghill rat! Stop your squeaking, or I'll come and deal with you! Do you hear?" There was no answer. "All right," growled Snagger, "but I'll come and have a look at you all the same and see what you're up to." The hinges creaked again, and Sam, now peering over the corner of the passage threshold, saw a flicker of light in an open doorway and the dim shape of an orc coming out. He seemed to be carrying a ladder. Suddenly the answer dawned on Sam. The topmost chamber was reached by a trapdoor in the roof of the passage. Snagger thrust the ladder upwards, steadied it, and then clambered out of sight. Sam heard a bolt drawn back, and then he heard the hideous voice speaking again. "You lie quiet, or you'll pay for it. You've not got long to live in peace, I guess. But if you don't want the fun to begin right now, keep your trap shut. See? There's a reminder for you." There was a sound like the crack of a whip. I love doing orcs. That's the most fun about this. I always hope to get an orc. It's blowing outside. I'm in my garage reading random passages from The Lord of the Rings with voices and acting and all. Appreciate you all watching. Thank you very much. How can I learn to read like you? You can start by reading The Lord of the Rings. And then you have to watch the Lord of the Rings movies and pretend that you are Aragorn or a hobbit. Just what's it called? Try to just repeat what they're saying. That's what I did. So, very nice comments. Thank you very much. My camera is really good. It's a Nikon. Thank you, Adutsa. I don't know how to say that name, but what's your real name? You can. Is it Ada? I think it might be. I also love the new setup. You know, I have a light. I've got like a fire. Built a fire in my garage. It's just a light. Don't worry. It's not going to catch on fire. Thank you for that. Let's get on to more readings. It is good vibes, Brittany. We're live a lot of places, so I'm trying to pay attention to all the chats, but it's not that easy. I won't do it again. I will have to. Maybe there's some way to. Have like a unified inbox of chats. Anyway, the next page from the pre-suggested pages. 981. 981. Oh, hello. This is also from the Scouring of the Shire, which we read from a few pages ago. 981. And I always liked. It's more fun when doing voices and all. So I'll do that. I'll start where the voices starts. The lines, the replik we call it in Norwegian. 981. Here we go. Sam was beside himself. "I'm going right on, Mr. Frodo," he cried. "I'm going to see what's up. I want to find my gaffer." We ought to find out first what we're in for, Sam," said Mary. "I guess that the chief will have a gang of ruffians handy. We had better find someone who will tell us how things are around here." But in the village of Bywater, all the houses and holes were shut, and no one greeted them. They wondered at this, but they soon discovered the reason of it.
When they reached the Green Dragon, the last house on the Hobbiton side, now lifeless and with broken windows, they were disturbed to see half a dozen large, ill-favoured men lounging against the inn wall. They were squint-eyed and shallow-faced. "Like that friend of Bill Furness at Bree," said Sam. "Like many that I saw at Isengard," muttered Mary. The ruffians had clubs in their hands and horns by their belts, but they had no other weapons as far as could be seen. As the travellers rode up, they left the wall and walked into the road, blocking the way. "Where do you think you're going?" said one, the largest and most evil-looking of the crew. "There's no road for you any further. And where are those precious sheriffs?" "Coming along nicely," said Mary. "A little footsore, perhaps. We promised to wait for them here." "Garn, what did I say?" said the ruffian to his mates. "I told Sharkey it was no good trusting those little fools. Some of our chaps ought to have been sent." "And what difference would that have made, pray?" said Mary. "We are not used to footpads in this country, but we know how to deal with them." "Footpads, eh?" said the man. "So that's your tone, is it? Change it, or we'll change it for you. You little folk are getting too uppish. Don't you trust too much in the boss's kind heart. Sharky's come now, and he'll do what Sharky says." Oh Lord, my camera is almost out of battery. That's not good. You'll have to excuse me for a bit. I'll need to plug it in. This is bad planning. Why didn't I just plug it in the first place? If I go, Theoden dies. If I go, Theoden dies. I hope this will work. It might not, and it might will. Maybe I'll have to just change the camera. Maybe I'll just have to stop. 1:37 after the suggestions. I will, but I'm kind of stressing about this camera setup now. Maybe I'll do this. This is what we'll do. Use the iPhone as a backup. Don't think I can do that. Okay, hang on. Let me do a thing. Let me do a thing. Give me 2 minutes and I'll fix this. Utter madness. You think this will work? Just using another camera? Do you think I could just plug it out and plug it in? That's not gonna work. But this will. I've got another idea. So, I'm going to unplug this and perhaps the sound. Now there's sound, right? Can you hear me? There we go. I'm in the middle. Stuck in the middle. Sorry about this hiccup. We can hear you. Thank you. Thank you. That's where you are now. Close this. I wonder if that camera would have worked. Don't know. Okay, let's do this properly. Oh, I have to change the thing here as well, huh? Hang on. Open ljudinställningar. Where do I mikrofon, lyd, media? No, thank you. Camera. Okay, I'm just going to go off here. Bye for that one. That's what you got, TikTok. Sorry, we'll continue this on Instagram and YouTube. So, sorry. Now, you've zoomed in a lot, you know. I'll just put it up here. See my fire? See this? This is my fire. Put it way away. Way away. Well, this is what you get when going live. Shit. Shit is falling down. Hang on. Here we go. Now we're here. Let's get to it, my friends. Okay. You have to just stick with the, you know, it's a weird thing now. But it's still, you can see me. There it is. I don't know how to get it any better than this, but this is what you get. This is what you get when I do my worst. Okay. Ruffians everywhere. That was 981. We have to kind of get to it. So let's go. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for your patience and being patient. English is difficult sometimes. The next page is page 61. Suggested by Sleepy Times. I don't know if that's any of you, but it might be. I don't know. Sound up in the comments if that was you. 61. Let's see. The Shadow of the Past chapter. Who's this? Oh, sorry, okay. I hope so, said Frodo, but I hope that you may find some other better keeper soon. But in the meanwhile, it seems that I am in danger. God damn it. Sorry. But in the meanwhile, it seems that I am a danger to all that live near me. I cannot keep the ring and stay here. I ought to leave Bag End, leave the Shire, leave everything and go away. He sighed. I should like to save the Shire, if I could, though there have been times when I thought that the inhabitants too stupid and dull for words, and have felt that an earthquake or an invasion of dragons might be good for them. But I don't feel like that now. I feel like that as long as the Shire lies behind, safe and comfortable, I shall find wandering more bearable. I shall know that somewhere there is a firm foothold, even if my feet cannot stand there again. Of course, I have sometimes thought of going away, but I imagined as kind of a holiday, a series of adventures like Bilbo's, or better, ending in peace. But this would mean exile, a flight from danger into danger, drawing it after me, and I suppose I must go alone if I am to do that and save the Shire. But I feel very small and very uprooted, and well,
desperate. The enemy is so strong and terrible." He did not tell Gandalf, but as he was speaking, a great desire to follow Bilbo flamed up in his heart. To follow Bilbo, and even perhaps to find him again. It was so strong that it overcame his fear. He could almost have run out there and then down the road without his hat, as Bilbo had done on a similar morning long ago.
"My dear Frodo," exclaimed Gandalf, "hobbits really are amazing creatures. As I have said before, you can learn all that there is to know about their ways in a month, and yet after 100 years they can still surprise you at a pinch. I hardly expected to get such an answer, not even from you. But Bilbo made no mistake in choosing his heir, though he little thought how important it would prove. I am afraid you are right. The ring will not be able to stay hidden in the Shire much longer, and for your own sake, as well as for others, you will have to go and leave the name of Baggins behind you. That name will not be safe to have outside the Shire or in the wild. I will give you a travelling name now. When you go, go as Mr. Underhill."
Mr. Underhill. Thank you. Page 61. Thank you for watching. This is fun. I'm having fun, even though my camera almost fell on my head. And what am I doing? And had to set up. You were very patient. I love you guys. You know, that's just how it is. Right. The next page is page 333, suggested by Virisen the Viking, or Virisen the Viking. Page 333. It's in Lothlorien. We haven't been there for a while. Oh, I think I made a video of this once while skiing. Anyway, page 333.
"I will climb up," said Legolas. "I am at home among trees, by root or bough, though these are trees of a kind strange to me, save as a name in song. Melirn they are called, and are those that bear the yellow blossom, but I have never climbed in one. I will see now what is their shape and way of growth."
"Whatever it may be," said Pippin, "they will be marvellous trees indeed if they can offer any rest at night, except to birds. I cannot sleep on a perch."
"Then dig a hole in the ground," said Legolas, "if that is more after the fashion of your kind. But you must dig swift and deep if you wish to hide from orcs." He sprang lightly up from the ground and caught a branch that grew from the trunk high above his head. But even as he swung there for a moment, a voice spoke suddenly from the tree shadows above him. "Daro," it said in a commanding tone, and Legolas dropped back to earth in surprise and fear. He shrank against the bole of the tree. "Stand still," he whispered to the others. "Do not move or speak." There was a sound of soft laughter over their heads, and then another clear voice spoke in an elven tongue. Frodo could understand little of what was said, for the speech that the Sylvan folk east of the mountain used among themselves was unlike that of the west. Legolas looked up and answered in the same language. "Who are they, and what do they say?" asked Merry. "They're elves," said Sam. "Can't you hear their voices?" "Yes, they are elves," said Legolas, "and they say that you breathe so loud that they could shoot you in the dark." Sam hastily put his hands over his mouth. "But they say also that you need have no fear. They have been aware of us for a long while. They heard my voice across the Nimrodel, and knew that I was one of their northern kindred, and therefore they did not hinder our crossing. And afterwards they heard my song. Now they bid me climb up with Frodo, for they seem to have had some tidings of him and of our journey. The others they ask to wait a little, and to keep watch at the foot of the tree, until they have decided what is to be done."
Legolas. I kind of see myself in Legolas, you know, but because of the tree climbing, not because of the long blonde hair and the stuff, but climbing trees is nice. That was page 333. The whole page, almost, Very good suggestion. Going on. How long have we been going? Oh, almost 45 minutes. So, next page is page 55 by Beat Belly has suggested this page. And 55 is the page from The Shadow of the Past chapter. 55. It's some of these pages stick to each other. Okay. Page 55. It is not, said Frodo, though I am not sure that I understand you. But how have you learned all this about the ring and about Gollum? Do you really know it all, or are you just guessing still? Gandalf looked at Frodo, and his eyes glinted.
I knew much, and I have learned much, he answered. But I am not going to give you an account of all my doings to you. The history of Elendil and Isildur and the One Ring is known to all the wise. Your ring is shown to be that one ring by the fire writing alone, apart from any other evidence.
And when did you discover that? Asked Frodo, interrupting.
Just now in this room, of course, he answered the wizard sharply. But I expected to find it. I have come back from dark journeys and long search to make that final test. It is the last proof, and all is now only too clear. Making out Gollum's part and fitting it into the gap in the history required some thought. I may have started with guesses about Gollum, but I am not guessing now. I know. I have seen him.
You have seen Gollum? Exclaimed Frodo in amazement.
Yes, the obvious thing to do, of course, if one could. I tried long ago, but I have managed it at last.
My light just went out.
And what happened after Bilbo escaped from him? Do you know that?
Not so clearly. What I have told you is what Gollum was willing to tell, though not, of course, in the way I have reported it. Gollum is a liar, and you have to sift his words. For instance, he called the ring his birthday present, and he stuck to that. He said it came from his grandmother, who had lots of beautiful things of that kind. A ridiculous story. I have no doubt that Smeagol's grandmother was a matriarch, a great person in her way, but to talk of her possessing many elven rings was absurd, and as for giving them away, it was a lie. But a lie with a grain of truth.
So my camera went and my light went. That's fine. You still got some other lights. Thank you, Advik, for complaining. No, not complaining. What's it called? Complimenting my Gandalf voice. Thank you. My favorite place in Middle-earth. I think my favorite place in Middle-earth, now that I'm 40 years old, would be in the Green Dragon or in the Shire with a beer and an ale or some pipeweed, though I do not smoke. If I was 16, I would probably be in the front of an army somewhere, riding a horse, killing some orcs, getting my slaughter on. Times changed, and so do I. So, the next page is page, it was 55, that was 55, 793, suggested by Ada, who's watching. That's very nice. Can't seem to, I have to, not now, let's see. 793. 793. Let's see. It is from the Siege of Gondor. Let's see, here we go. Who's talking? Let's see who's talking. It's Gandalf and Faramir.
Whence come you? He said. A halfling, and in the library of the tower. Whence?
But with that Gandalf stepped to his side and spoke.
He came with me from the land of the halflings, he said. He came with me. But let us not tarry here. There is much to say and to do, and you are weary. He shall come with us. Indeed he must. For if he does not forget his new duties more easily than I do, he must attend on his lord again, within his hour. Come, Pippin, follow us.
So at length they came to the private chamber of the lord of the city. Their deep seats were set about the brazier of charcoal, and wine was brought, and there Pippin, hardly noticed, stood behind the chair of Denethor, and felt his weariness little. So eagerly did he listen to all that was said. When Faramir had taken white bread and drunk a draught of wine, he sat upon a low chair at his father's left hand, removed a little upon the other side, sat Gandalf in a chair of carven wood, and he seemed at first to be asleep. For at the beginning Faramir spoke only of the errand upon which he had been sent out 10 days before, and he brought tidings of Ithilien and movements of the enemy and his allies. And he told of the fight on the road when the men of Harad and their great beast were overthrown, a captain reporting to his master such matters as had often been heard before, small things of border war that now seemed useless and petty, shorn of their renown. Then suddenly Faramir looked at Pippin.
But now we come to strange matters, he said, for this is not the first halfling that I have seen walking out of northern legends into the southlands.
At that Gandalf sat up and gripped the arms of his chair, but he said nothing, and with a look stopped the exclamation on Pippin's lips. Denethor looked at their faces and nodded his head, as though in sign that he had read much there before it was spoken. Slowly, while the others sat silent and still, Faramir told his tale, with his eyes for the most part on Gandalf, though now and again his glance strayed to Pippin, as if to refresh his memory of others that had been seen. Exciting! This is in Gondor. Why don't you drink some water, sir? It's been a long time now. I should drink some water. So I have brought my water bottle. Don't tell me I haven't got things in order. If you're new to this thing, we're reading random passages from the Lord of the Rings with voices and acting and all. That was page 793. Now we're coming to page 161. Thank you for being here. And thank you if you're sharing this live with someone you think would like this kind of nerdy stuff. Someone asked how many pages are in the backlog at the moment. So one thing is this live readings, that's just like a few pages every live reading, but the thing about the reels, I've taken all your suggestions. Sometimes the same page is suggested, but that counts as one. So I've got a list now that goes into September, I think. So you won't see the last of me yet. And that's I'm very happy about that, and because I am enjoying myself doing these reels, doing these live readings, and being here with you in my garage. Next page, what did we do? We did that one. Now it's page 161, suggested by Folke. 161. Oh, Strider. The Strider chapter.
I need not repeat all that they said to old Bombadil or to one another, but one thing interested me. "Please remember," said one of them, "that the name Baggins must not be mentioned. I am Mr. Underhill, if any name must be given." That interested me, so much that I followed them here. I slipped over the gate just behind them. Maybe Mr. Baggins has an honest reason for leaving his name behind, but if so, I should advise him and his friends to be more careful. "I don't see what interest my name has for anyone in Bree," said Frodo angrily. "And I have still to learn why it interests you, Mr. Strider." Mr. Strider may have an honest reason for spying and eavesdropping, but if so, I should advise him to explain it." "Well answered," said Strider, laughing. "But the explanation is simple. I was looking for a hobbit called Frodo Baggins. I wanted to find him quickly. I had learned that he was carrying out of the Shire, well, a secret that concerned me and my friends." "Now don't mistake me," he cried, as Frodo rose from his seat and Sam jumped up with a scowl. "I shall take more care of that secret than you do, and care is needed." He leaned forward and looked at them. "Watch every shadow," he said in a low voice. "Black horsemen have passed through Bree. On Monday, one came down the greenway, they say, and another appeared later, coming up the greenway from the south." There was a silence. At last Frodo spoke to Pippin and Sam. "I ought to have guessed it from the way the gatekeeper greeted us," he said. "And the landlord seemed to have heard something. Why did he press us to join the company? And why on earth did we behave so foolishly? We ought to have stayed quiet in here." "It would have been better," said Strider. "I would have stopped your going into the common room, if I could, but the innkeeper would not let me in to see you or take a message." "Do you think he—" began Frodo. "No, I don't think any harm of old Butterbur, only he does not altogether like mysterious vagabonds of my sort." Frodo gave him a puzzled look. "Well, I have rather a rascally look, have I not?" said Strider, with a curl of his lips and queer gleam in his eye. "But I hope we shall get to know one another better. When we do, I hope you will explain what happened at the end of your song. For that little prank—" "It was a sheer accident," interrupted Frodo. "I wonder," said Strider. "Accident, then. That accident has made your position dangerous." This is so exciting. I am picturing the movie as I'm reading it. "You shall not pass." Very good. Good chapter. Good chapter to read from. Much obliged. Going on. Let's go. We've got, let's see, half an hour left or something. We got to get through these pages so we can get to some suggested pages in the chat. I'll try and not speak so fastly because there's no text here. So, that was page 161. Let's go to 678 by Ryan Power, has suggested this page. Thank you, Ryan Power. 678. It's a short one. "Yet, since he is gone, I must take such path.
Let me start that again, I'm sorry.
Yet, since he is gone, I must take such paths as I can find, and there is no time for long searching," said Frodo. "It is a hard doom and a hopeless errand," said Faramir, "but at least remember my warning. Beware of this guide, Smeagol. He has done murder before now. I read it in him," he sighed. "Well, so we meet and part, Frodo, son of Drogo. You have no need of soft words. I do not hope to see you again on any other day under this sun. But you shall go now with my blessing upon you, and upon all your people. Rest a little while. Food is prepared for you." "I would gladly learn how this creeping Smeagol became possessed of the thing with which we speak, and how he lost it."
Oh shit, it's Faramir.
I would gladly learn how this creeping Smeagol became possessed of the thing of which we speak, and how he lost it. But I will not trouble you now. if ever beyond hope you return to the lands of the living, and we retell our tales, sitting by a wall in the sun, laughing at old grief, you shall tell me then. Until that time, or some other time beyond the vision of the sea and stones of Numenor, farewell." He rose and bowed low to Frodo, and drawing the curtain, passed out into the cave. Faramir says goodbye to Frodo. Here's a suggestion. After you reach 100 days with this Lord of the Rings saga, you could try this content idea again, but with The Hobbit. I would love to see your impression of Bilbo. Bilbo? Yes. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just do 1,000 days of this. I could. Maybe I could change it up a bit, you know. And the 13 dwarves, yes. I think if I should do 13 dwarves, they would all sound pretty much the same, I think. Scottish dwarves. Page number next, 856. Shh, we gotta go. We gotta go, guys. 856, we gotta keep the tempo up. 856. 856. The pages are so thin in this book. 856. I'm sorry, I'm burping a bit. The Last Debate. This is from the chapter Last Debate. 856. I remembered it. "Dull and dreary indeed," said Merry. "You must not go to the havens, Legolas. There will always be some folk, big or little, and even a few wive dwarfs like Gimli, who need you. At least I hope so. Though I feel somehow that the worst of this war is still to come. Oh, I wish it was all over, and well over." "Don't be so gloomy," cried Pippin. "The sun is shining, and here we are together for a day or two at least. I want to hear more about you all. Come, Gimli. You and Legolas have mentioned your strange journey with Strider about a dozen times already this morning, but you haven't told me anything about it." "The sun may shine here," said Gimli, "but there are memories of that road that I do not wish to recall out of the darkness. Had I known that what was before me, I think that not for any friendship would I have taken the paths of the dead." "The paths of the dead?" said Pippin. "I heard Aragorn say that, and I wondered what it could mean. Won't you tell us some more?" "Not willingly," said Gimli, "for upon that road I was put to shame. Gimli Gloin's son, who had deemed himself more tough than men and hardier under earth than any elf. But neither did I prove, and I was held to the road only by the will of Aragorn." "And by the love of him also," said Legolas. "For all those who come to know him come to love him after his own fashion, even the cold maiden of the Rohirrim. It was at early morn of the day ere you came there, Merry, that we left Dunharrow, and such a fear was on all the folk that none would look on our going, save the Lady Eowyn, who lies now hurt in the house of below. There was grief at that parting, and I was grieved to behold it."
"Alas, I had heart only for myself," said Gimli. "Nay, I will not speak of that journey."
He fell silent, but Pippin and Merry were so eager for news that at last Legolas said, "I will tell you enough for your peace, for I felt not the horror, and I feared not the shadows of men, powerless and frail as I deemed them." Gimli and Pippin talking together, that's fun. One Scot to another. And Legolas is always like high on his horse. I was not afraid. I was not afraid of going into the dark and seeing the clouds and darkness and shades. Aye, laddie. Has anyone read the Silmarillion here? I have read the Silmarillion a couple of times. You just have to get through the start of it. It's pretty tough. A lot of
he lives there and they live there and they talk this and these are related. But when you get past that, there are more like stories, which is good. But it's good. Some fun stories in the Silmarillion, and you get the deeper, more understanding. If you read the Silmarillion, the Lord of the Rings also gets much better, both book and movie. That was, I forgot which page it was, 856, got it. Okay, page 42 is up, and that is suggested by Irene, or Irene. And these are all from the pre-suggestions. 20 was too much. We'll go for 10 next time. Page 42, the answer to life, universe, and everything. That's 42. The shadow of the past. Here we go. Frodo himself, after the first shock, found that being his own master and the Master Baggins of Bag End was rather pleasant. For some years he was quite happy and did not worry much about the future, but half unknown to himself, the regret that he had not gone with Bilbo was steadily growing. He found himself wondering at times, especially in the autumn, about the wild lands, and strange visions of mountains that he had never seen came into his dreams. He began to say to himself, "Perhaps I shall cross the river myself one day," to which the other half of his mind always replied, "Not yet." So it went on until his 40s were running out and his 50th birthday was drawing near. 50 was a number that he felt was somehow significant or ominous. It was at any rate at that age that adventure had suddenly befallen Bilbo. Frodo began to feel restless, and the old paths seemed too well trodden. He looked at maps and wondered what lay beyond their edges. Maps made in the Shire showed mostly white spaces beyond its borders. He took to wandering further afield and more often by himself, and Merry and his other friends watched him anxiously. Often he was seen walking and talking with the strange wayfarers that began at this time to appear in the Shire. There were rumors of strange things happening in the world outside, and as Gandalf had not at that time appeared or sent any message for several years, Frodo gathered all the news he could. Elves, who seldom walked in the Shire, could now be seen passing westwards through the woods in the evening, passing and not returning. But they were leaving Middle-earth and were no longer concerned with its troubles. There were, however, dwarves on the road in unusual numbers. The ancient east-west road ran through the Shire to its end at the Grey Havens, and dwarves had always used it on their way to their mines in the Blue Mountains. They were the hobbits' chief source of news from distant parts. If they wanted any, as a rule, dwarves said little and hobbit asked no more. But now Frodo often met strange dwarves of far countries seeking refuge in the west. They were troubled, and some spoke in whispers of the enemy and the land of Mordor. That was page 42. Page 42, the answer to life and everything. So, I don't know if you're going to get a chance to read, the chat suggestions. I'm trying to read through the chats. You're talking to each other. That's nice. That's nice. Making friends. Okay, page 42. Next page, 941. That's 941. It's getting cold in my garage. Wish this fire was a real fire. 941. Come on. Here we go. It's The Steward and the King. Okay, chapter. "Lose what you have found, Lord?" she answered.
That's Eowyn. But she looked at him gravely, and her eyes were kind. I know not what in these days you have found that you could lose. But come, my friend, let us not speak of it. Let us not speak at all. I stand upon some dreadful brink, and it is utterly dark in the abyss before my feet. But whether there is any light behind me, I cannot tell, for I cannot turn yet. I wait for some stroke of doom. Yes, we wait for the stroke of doom, said Faramir. And they said no more, and it seemed to them, as they stood upon the wall, that the wind died, and the light failed, and the sun was bleared, and all sounds in the city or in the lands about were hushed. Neither wind, nor voice, nor bird call, nor rustle of leaf, nor their own breath could be heard. The very beating of their hearts was stilled. Time halted. And as they stood so, their hands met and clasped, though they did not know it. And still they waited for they knew not what. Then presently it seemed to them that above the ridges of the distant mountains another vast mountain of darkness rose, towering up like a wave that should engulf the world. And about it lightnings flickered, and then a tremor ran through the earth, and they felt the walls of the city quiver. A sound like a sigh went up from all the lands about them, and their hearts beat suddenly again. It reminds me of Númenor, said Faramir, and wondered to hear himself speak. Of Númenor, said Eowyn. Yes, said Faramir, on the land of Westerness that foundered, and of the great dark wave climbing over the green lands, and above the hills, and coming on, darkness unescapable. I often dream of it. Then do you think that the darkness is coming? Said Eowyn. Darkness unescapable. And suddenly she drew close to him. Now, said Faramir, looking into her face, it was but a picture in the mind. I do not know what is happening. The reason of my waking mind tells me that the great evil has befallen, and we stand at the end of days. But my heart says nay, and all my limbs are light, and a hope and joy are come to me that no reason can deny. Eowyn, White Lady of Rohan, in this hour, I do not believe that any darkness will endure. And he stooped and kissed her brow. Noble Faramir. He's a nice man. This is fun. We're having fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? I'm having fun. Who would win in a fight between Legolas or Katniss Everdeen? Come on now. It's Legolas would win. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. My honest opinion. And the truth. So, next page is, 900, no, that was where we were. 99 is the next page. 99. I got 99 pages. And 99. Let's go find 99. 97, 98, 99. Let's see. A conspiracy unmasked. This is page 99. Oh, here we go. Oh, sorry. It's a song. It's the bath song. Good. The travellers hung up their cloaks and piled their packs on the floor. Merry led them down the passage and threw open a door at the far end. Firelight came out, and a puff of steam. "A bath!" cried Pippin. "Oh, blessed Mariadoc!" "Which order shall we go in?" said Frodo. "Eldest first or quickest first? You'll be last either way, Master Peregrine." "Trust me to arrange things better than that," said Merry. "We can't begin life at Crickhollow with a quarrel over baths. In that room there are 3 tubs and a copper full of boiling water. There are also towels, mats and soap. Get inside and be quick." Mary and Fatty went into the kitchen on the other side of the passage and busied themselves with the final preparations for a late supper. Snatches of competing songs came from the bathroom, mixed with the sound of splashing and wallowing. The voice of Pippin was suddenly lifted up above the others in one of Bilbo's favourite bath songs. "Sing, hey, for the bath at close of day, that washeth the weary mud away. A loon is that he will not sing. Oh, water hot is a noble thing. Oh, sweet is the sound of falling rain, and the brook that leaps from hill to plain. But better than rain or rippling streams is water hot that smokes and streams. Water cold we pour at need, down thirsty throat be glad indeed. But better is beer if drink we lack, water hot poured down the back. Water's fair that leaps on high, in a fountain white beneath the sky. But never did fountain sound so sweet as splashing water with my feet." There was a terrible splash and a shout of "Whoa!" from Frodo. It appeared that a lot of Pippin's bath had imitated a fountain and leaped on high. Merry went to the door. "What about supper and beer in the throat?" he called. Frodo came out, drying his hair. "There is so much water in the air that I'm coming into the kitchen to finish," he said. That's a fun song. That's a fun song. Songs are not very often. Bro, nice stream. Thank you, Jax. I'm glad you're watching here on YouTube. And we're also on Instagram. Had to cut off the TikTokers, but you know, that happens. That sounds like a song a 7-year-old would sing for fun while playing in puddles and calling it nature's bath. Yes, I'll teach this song to my 5-year-old, and he can sing it in the Sölepit is what we call it. Dirty, what? Puddles? Puddle of Mud. Did you ever hear the song, the band Puddle of Mud? From the 90s. Good. Thank you for complimenting my singing. We're reading random passages from the Lord of the Rings still. So, next page, that was 99. Wasn't it? Yes. And that was Jacob. Jacob, you're here, aren't you? Jacopo? You, I saw you. That was your suggestion. And suggested page 805 by XADAR002. 805. If you try and guess, if you guess the correct chapter, you're pretty good. This is the 805. The Siege of Gondor is this chapter. In vain men shook their fists at the pitiless foes that swarmed before the gate. Curses they heeded not, nor understood the tongues of western men, crying with harsh voices like beasts and carrion birds. But soon there were few left in Minas Tirith who had the heart to stand up and defy the hosts of Mordor. For yet another weapon, swifter than hunger, the Lord of the Dark Tower had, dread and despair. The Nazgul came again, and as their Dark Lord now grew and put forth his strength, so their voices, which uttered only his will and his malice, were filled with evil and horror. Ever they circled above the city, like vultures that expect their fill of doomed men's flesh. Out of sight and shoot they flew, and yet were ever present, and their deadly voices rent the air. More unbearable they became, not less, at each new cry. At length even the stout-hearted would fling themselves to the ground as the hidden menace passed over them, or they would stand, letting their weapons fall from nerveless hands, while into their minds a blackness came. And they thought no more of war, but only of hiding, and of crawling, and of death. During all this black day, Faramir lay upon his bed in the chamber of the White Tower, wandering in a desperate fever, dying, someone said, And soon dying all men were saying, upon the walls and in the streets. And by him his father sat, and said nothing, but watched, and gave no longer any heed to the defence. No hour so dark had Pippin known, not even in the clutches of the Uruk-hai. It was his duty to wait upon the Lord, and wait he did, forgotten it seemed, standing by the door of the unlit chamber, mastering his own fears as best he could. And as he watched, it seemed to him that Denethor grew old before his eyes, as if something had snapped in his proud will, and his stern mind was overthrown. Grief maybe had wrought it, and remorse. He saw tears on that once tearless face, more unbreakable than wrath. "Do not weep, Lord," he stammered. "Perhaps he will get well. Have you asked Gandalf?"
"Comfort me not with wizards," said Denethor. "The fool's hope has failed. The enemy has found it, and now his power waxes. He sees our very thoughts, and all we do is ruin us. I sent my son forth, unthanked, unblessed, out into needless peril, and here he lies with poison in his veins. Nay, whatever now betide in war, my line too is ending. Even the house of the stewards has failed."
Oh, kind of pity Denethor right here at this moment. He's a sad old man. Have you been a pro voice actor before? I have not been a pro voice actor before, but I am like a hobby actor, or like an amateur actor. And I like doing voices, like just for myself and for the amusement of whoever's in my company. Now you're my company, and I am amused. I'm so happy I found you. I'm happy you found me too, and I'm happy you're here. Landrum Pottery. So, we're reading random passages from the Lord of the Rings. We've got some, I don't know. How many pages? We've got 4 pre-suggested pages left. Let's get them done, and then we'll do some more. I have to go in to make my burger soon, eat my dinner. But I'll do a little drink. Cheers! Hope you're having fun. Hope you're having a great time. This Jack Bounty is my band. It's not really active at the moment. Amateur, please. You're really good. Thank you. But you know, I'm not a professionally trained actor. That's why I say amateur. But I appreciate it very much. I wouldn't do this if I didn't think I had, you know, something to show. Might seem cocky. Which page was it? 800. So Rose. 772. 772. $772. The passing of the Grey Company. Oh. To that stone the company came and halted in the dead of night. Then Elrohir gave to Aragorn a silver horn, and he blew upon it. And it seemed to those that stood near that they heard a sound of answering horns, as if it was an echo in deep caves far away. No other sound they heard, and yet they were aware of a great host gathered all about the hill on which they stood. And a chill wind, like a breath of ghosts, came down from the mountains. But Aragorn dismounted, and standing by the stone, he cried in a great voice, "Oathbreakers! Why have ye come?" And a voice was heard out of the night that answered him, as if from far away, "To fulfill our oath and have peace."
Then Aragorn said, "The hour is come at last. Now I go to Pelargir upon Anduin, and ye shall come after me. And when all this land is clean of the servants of Sauron, I will hold the oath fulfilled, and ye shall have peace and depart forever. For I am Elessar, Isildur's heir of Gondor." And with that he bade Halbarad unfurl the great standard which he had brought, and behold, it was black, and if there was any device upon it, it was hidden in the darkness. And then there was silence, and not a whisper nor a sigh was heard again all the long night. The company camped beside the stone, but they slept little, because of the dread of the shadows that hedged them around. But when the dawn came, cold and pale, Aragorn rose at once, and he led the company forth upon the journey of the greatest haste and weariness that any among them had known, save he alone, and only his will held them to go on. No other mortal men could have endured it, none but the Dunedain of the north, and with them Gimli the dwarf and Legolas of the elves. They passed Tarlang's neck and came into Lamedon, and the shadow host pressed behind and fear went on before them, until they came to Calambel upon Ciril, and the sun went down like blood behind Pinath Gelin, away in the west behind them. The township and the fords of Ciril they found deserted, for many men had gone away to war, and all that were left fled to the hills at the rumour of the coming of the king of the dead. But the next day there came no dawn, and the grey company passed out into the darkness of the storm of Mordor and were lost to mortal sight. But the dead followed them. Army of the dead, mustering. I'm soon going out of batteries on my phone. Oh, I should just plug it into the thing. Hang on a minute. Just got to do some technical stuff here. There we go. Battery on my phone. Whew. Thank you for sharing this. That's I appreciate that. Just reading through the chat. I feel like a live streamer. I am a live streamer. So, 772. Now, page 22 by Jill Mars. Jill Mars has suggested this page, and it's the second page to the start. My book starts, or the chapter 1 starts at page 21. So that's why people have to suggest between 21 and 1008. And Jill Mars had suggested page 22. So let's go. I need some water. This is tearing up my voice. I can't keep going for much longer, but I will. Next time we'll do 10 suggested pages on beforehand, and then we'll do all other chats. Page 22. No one had a more attentive audience than old Ham Gamgee, commonly known as the Gaffer. He held forth at the Ivy Bush, a small inn on the Bywater Road, and he spoke with some authority, for he had tended the garden at Bag End for 40 years, and had helped old Holman in the same job before that. Now that he was himself growing old and stiff in the joints, the job was mainly carried on by his youngest son, Sam Gamgee. Both father and son were on very friendly terms with Bilbo and Frodo. They lived on the hill itself, in number 3 Bagshot Row, just below Bag End. "A very nice, well-spoken gentle hobbit is Mr. Bilbo, as I've always said," the Gaffer declared, with perfect truth, for Bilbo was very polite to him, calling him Master Hamfast, and consulting him constantly upon the growing of vegetables, in the matter of roots, especially potatoes. The Gaffer was recognized as the leading authority by all in the neighborhood, including himself. But what about this Frodo that lives with him? Asked old Noakes of Bywater. Baggins is his name, but he's more than half a brandybuck, they say. It beats me why any Baggins of Hobbiton should go looking for a wife away there in Backland, where folks are so queer. And no wonder they're queer, put in Daddy Two-Foot, the gaffer's next-door neighbour. If they live on the wrong side of the Brandywine River and right again the old forest, that's a dark, bad place, if half the tales be true. You're right, Dad, said the gaffer. Not that the Brandybucks of Buckland live in the old forest, but they're a queer breed seemingly. They fool about with boats on that big river, and that is natural. Small wonder that trouble came of it, I say. But be that as he may, Mr. Frodo is as nice as a young hobbit as you could wish to meet, very much like Mr. Bilbo, and in more than looks. After all, his father was a Baggins. A decent, respectable hobbit was Mr. Drogo Baggins. There was never much to tell of him till he was drowned. Drowned? Said several voices. They had heard this and other darker rumours before, of course, but hobbits have a passion for family history, and they were ready to hear it again. But we won't hear it, because I stopped. That was the whole page. Water break. One does not simply. I've got a bit of water left. I will celebrate with a beer afterwards. So, the last page of the suggested pages from the pre-suggesting pages is page 1005. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're still here. We've been going for 1.5 hours soon. And that is excellent. 1005. That is pretty much almost at the end. 1005, 997, 1003. Oh, it's the Grey Havens. It's from the Grey Havens. I guess they go back. Oh, a song. I do have a YouTube channel. I'm currently streaming to both my Instagram thing and the YouTube thing. But it's all the same. Page 1005. I don't know what song this is, so it'll be improvised. It was evening, and the stars were glimmering in the eastern sky as they passed the ruined oak and turned and went on down the hill between the hazel thickets. Sam was silent, deep in his memories. Presently he became aware that Frodo was singing softly to himself, singing the old walking song, but the words were not quite the same. Still round the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate, and though I oft have passed them by, a day will come at last when I shall take the hidden paths that run west of the moon, east of the sun. And as if answer, from down below, coming up the road out of the valley, voices sang in Elvish. Ah, Elbereth Gilthoniel, silvren penna Miriel, o menella glar Elenath, Gilthoniel a Elbereth. We still remember, we who dwell in this far land beneath the trees, the starlight on the western seas. Frodo and Sam halted and sat silent in the soft shadows until they saw a shimmer as the travellers came towards them. There was Gildor and many fair elven folk, and there, to Sam's wonder, rode Elrond and Galadriel. Elrond wore a mantle of grey and had a star upon his forehead, and a silver harp was in his hand, and upon his finger was a ring of gold with a great blue stone, Vilya, mightiest of the three. But Galadriel sat upon a white palfrey, and was robed all in glimmering white, like clouds about the moon, for she herself seemed to shine with a soft light. On her finger was Nenya, the ring wrought of mithril, that bore a single white stone flickering like a frosty star. Riding slowly behind on a small grey pony, and seeming to nod in his sleep, was Bilbo himself. That was the last page of the pre-suggested pages. So, thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I appreciate that. All the pages from the pre-suggested pages has been read. If you've got a page, I guess I'll have to just first one to suggest a page gets the page. There's been too much joyful chatting in the chat to the next live reading. I don't know. Nenya is made of mithril. 23. I'll write it down. I wish I had a pen. I'm in a garage. There should always be pens and such in a garage. I have a massive amount of. I'll write it in the thing here. 23. And 452. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. And 111. 11 is it? That's a good page. That's a good page. The family drama. Yes. Let's do the family drama. Page 23. I didn't really want to stop there, but I felt I had to. Okay, we'll go for... Yeah. We'll go a bit more. 23. So we stopped, and they were a passion for family history, and they were ready to hear it again. I'll start on the very last, on page 22. Don't tell anyone. Well, so they say, said the gaffer. You see, Mr. Drogo, he married poor Miss Primula Brandybuck. She was our Mr. Bilbo's first cousin on the mother's side, her mother being the youngest of the old Duke's daughters, and Mr. Drogo was his second cousin. So Mr. Frodo is his first and second cousin, once removed either way, as the saying is, if you follow me. And Mr. Drogo was staying at Brandy Hall with his father-in-law, old Master Gorboduc, as he often did after his marriage, him being partial to his victuals, and old Gorboduc keeping a mighty generous table, and he went out boating on the Brandywine River, and he and his wife were drowned, and poor Mr. Frodo, only a child and all. I've heard they went on the water after dinner in the moonlight, said old Noakes, and it was Drogo's weight that sunk the boat. And I heard she pushed him in, and he pulled her in after him, said Sandyman, the Hobbiton miller. You shouldn't listen to all you hear, Sandyman, said the gaffer, who did not much like the miller. There isn't no call to go talking of pushing and pulling. Boats are quite tricky enough for those that sit still without looking further for the course of trouble. Anyway, there was this Mr. Frodo left an orphan and stranded, as you might say, among those queer Bucklanders, being brought up anyhow in Brandy Hall, a regular warren by all accounts. Old Master Gorboduc never had fewer than a couple of 100 relations in the place. Mr. Bilbo never did a kinder deed when he brought the lad back to live among decent folk. But I reckon it was a nasty shock for those Sackville Bagginses. They thought they were going to get Bag End, that time when he went off and was thought to be dead. And then he comes back and orders them off, and he goes on living and never looking a day older, bless him. And suddenly he produces an heir, and has all the papers made out proper. The Sackville Bagginses won't never see the inside of Bag End now, or it is to be hoped not. I'll stop there.
That was page 23. Let's do 452. That was the one after. Yes, page 452. 207. It is pretty hilarious. I mean, The Lord of the Rings, it's surprisingly funny when you read it a couple of times. But it's very funny, you know? Gandalf is very funny. And the part with from the Houses of Healing with the annoying woman Ioreth or whatever he's called, that's pretty funny. And if, I mean, I love reading this for you people, but if you want to, like a good audiobook reader, listen to Andy Serkis reading The Lord of the Rings. That's a good one. And you get the proper Gollum voice. Proper Gollum voice. Page 452. Who said that? Who said it? Who said it? Jürgen Gellén. You might be Norwegian, you might be German, you might be from the Netherlands. 452. I'm sorry. Sorry for doing the Trump voice. It just came to me. 452. It's a tree bird one. It will take some time. $452. Here we go. Tree bird chapter. The wind's changing, said Mary. It's turned east again. It feels cold up here. Yes, said Pippin. I'm afraid this is only a passing gleam, and it will all go grey again. What a pity. This shaggy old forest looks so different in the sunlight. I almost felt I liked the place.
Almost felt you liked the forest? That's good. That's uncommonly kind of you, said a strange voice. Turn round and let me have a look at your faces. I almost feel that I dislike you both, but do not let us be hasty. Turn around.
A large knob-knuckled hand was laid on each of their shoulders, and they were twisted round, gently but irresistibly. Then two great arms lifted them up. They found that they were looking at a most extraordinary face. It belonged to a large man-like, almost troll-like figure, at least 14 foot high, very sturdy, with a tall head and hardly any neck. Whether it was clad in stuff like green and grey bark, or whether that was its hide, was difficult to say. At any rate, the arms, at a short distance from the trunk, were not wrinkled, but covered with a brown, smooth skin. The large feet had 7 toes each. The lower part of the long face was covered with a sweeping grey beard, bushy, almost twiggy at the roots, thin and mossy at the ends. But at the moment the hobbits noted little but the eyes. These deep eyes were now surveying them, slow and solemn, but very penetrating. They were brown, shot with a green light. Often afterwards Pippin tried to describe his first impression of them. One felt as if there were an enormous well behind them, filled up with ages of memory and long, slow, steady thinking. But their surface was sparkling with the present, like sun shimmering on the outer leaves of a vast tree or on the ripples of a very deep lake. I don't know, but it felt as if something that grew in the ground, asleep you might say, or just feeling itself as something between root tip and leaf tip, between deep earth and sky, had suddenly waked up and was considering you with the same slow care that it had given to its own inside affairs for endless years. Murmured the voice, a deep voice like a very deep woodwind instrument. Very odd indeed. Do not
That is my motto. But if I had seen you before I heard your voices, I liked them. Nice little voices. They reminded me of something I cannot remember. If I had seen you before I heard you, I should have just trodden on you, taking you for little orcs, and found out my mistake afterwards. Very odd you are indeed, root and twig. Very odd.
Treebeard takes a long time to read, you know. But it's fun. Treebeard's fun, Pippin's fun. That's very good fun. Very good funny thing. That's 452. Okay, so we're coming up on an end of this live reading, but we'll do 11:1 as a closer for this. 11:1, 111. Where are you? Page 111. Are you where I suspect you to be? Yes, you are. Maybe we'll do one more after this. But here is page 111, or 11:1. They now hurried forward again, delighted with the thought of climbing out for a while above the roof of the forest. The path dipped, and then again began to climb upwards, leading them at last to the foot of the steep hillside. There it left the trees and faded into the turf. The wood stood all round the hill like thick hair that ended sharply in a circle round shaven crown. The hobbits led their ponies up, winding around and around until they reached the top. There they stood and gazed about them. The air was gleaming and sunlit, but hazy, and they could not see to any great distance. Near at hand the mist was now almost gone, though here and there it lay in hollows of the wood, and to the south of them, out of a deep fold cutting right across the forest, the fog still rose like steam or wisps of white smoke. "That," said Merry, pointing with his hand, "that is the line of the Withywindle. It comes down out of the downs and flows southwest through the midst of the forest to join the Brandywine below Haythend. We don't want to go that way. The Withywindle Valley is said to be the queerest part of the whole wood, the centre from which all the queerness comes, as it were." The others looked in the direction that Merry pointed out, but they could see little but mists over the damp and deep-cut valley, and beyond it the southern half of the forest faded from view. We'll have to do one more. We're doing one more. And so we had 11:1, and should we... And what were the other pages suggested? We are all having fun. Indeed. Where did the pages go? 23, 207. 207. We have to end with a fun one, not just descriptions. 207. Hang on. There's nothing on page 207. It's a blank one. No, it's not a blank one. Sorry. Oh, Glorfindel. Flight to the ford. The hobbits were still weary when they set out again early next morning. There were many miles yet to go between them and the ford, and they hobbled forward at the best pace they could manage. "Our peril will be great just ere we reach the river," said Glorfindel,
for my heart warns me that the pursuit is now swift behind us. Another danger might be waiting by the ford." The road was still running steadily downhill, and there was now in places much grass at either side, in which the hobbits walked, when they could, to ease their tired feet. In the late afternoon they came to a place where the road went suddenly under the dark shadow of tall pine trees, and then plunged into a deep cutting with steep, moist walls of red stone. Echoes ran along as they hurried forward, and there seemed to be a sound of many footfalls following their own. All at once, as if through a gate of the light, the road ran out again from the end of the tunnel into the open. There, at the bottom of a sharp incline, they saw before them a long flat mile, and beyond that the ford of Rivendell. On the further side was a steep brown bank, threaded by a winding path, and behind that the tall mountains climbed, shoulder above shoulder and peak beyond peak, into the fading sky. There was still an echo as of following feet in the cutting behind them, a rushing noise as if a wind were rising and pouring through the branches of the pines. One moment Glorfindel turned and listened, then he sprang forward with a loud cry. "Fly!" he called. "Fly! The enemy is upon us!" The white horse leaped forward. The hobbits ran down the slope. Glorfindel and Strider followed as rear guard. They were only half way across the flat when suddenly there was a noise of horses galloping. Out of the gate, in the trees that they had just left, rode a black rider. He reined his horse in and halted, swaying in his saddle. Another followed him, and then another, then again 2 more. "Ride forward! Ride!" cried Glorfindel to Frodo. He did not obey at once, for a strange reluctance seized him. Checking the horse to a walk, he turned and looked back. The riders seemed to sit upon their great steeds like threatening statues upon a hill, dark and solid, while all the woods and land about them receded as if into a mist. Suddenly he knew in his heart that they were silently commanding him to wait. Then at once fear and hatred awoke in him. His hand left the bridle and gripped to the hilt of his sword, and with a red flash he drew it. "Ride on! Ride on!" cried Glorfindel, and then loud and clear he called to the horse in the elf tongue, "Norulim! Norulim Asfaloth!" At once the white horse sprang away and sped like the wind along the last lap of the road. At the same moment the black horses leaped down the hill in pursuit, and from the riders came a terrible cry, such as Frodo had heard filling the woods with horror in the East Farthing far away. It was answered, and to the dismay of Frodo and his friends, out from the trees and rocks away from the left 4 other riders came flying. 2 rode towards Frodo. 2 galloped madly towards the ford to cut off his escape. They seemed to him to run like the wind and to grow swiftly larger and darker as their courses converged with his. That's exciting. Glorfindel replaced by Arwen. Hi. Whew, that was intense. Okay. You'll have to continue reading in your own Lord of the Rings book if you want to read what happens next. Okay. This is the end of this live stream. We have been reading lots of pages, random pages suggested by you from the Lord of the Rings. And I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting. Thank you very much for being here inside my garage with me while I am reading these pages. I'm sorry if I freeze, sorry if I froze. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe some better internet or better streaming things. I hope you've enjoyed it. Cheers, I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you, the Bundin. Thank you for being here. And if you want to know when the next live reading is, you'll have to just follow me in my social medias, you know. I post these reels where I read random passages from the Lord of the Rings on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and also Facebook. But, you know, Facebook is Facebook.
yeah, follow me, share my videos with someone you think would like to do that. And I love you all. And I will see you next time. And I will get the technical stuff in order. And thank you very much for being here. I will now go inside, make a burger, and drink a beer, and eat some candy. And maybe I will watch some Lord of the Rings. Yes. Facebook is Facebook. You can quote me on that, yeah. Thank you very much. See you later. And I appreciate all of you very much. Bye. Now I just have to figure out how to stop this